James Clear's analysis of Grant Cardone's work, the biggest mistake most people make in life is not setting goals high enough. Today, we're diving into the 10x rule, a mindset that says you should set targets 10 times greater than what you believe you can achieve and take 10 times more action than you think necessary. By the end of this episode, you'll understand why this extreme approach might actually be more realistic than traditional goal setting, and how to apply these principles without burning out. Let me bring in someone who's been studying this framework.
So the 10x rule, popularized by entrepreneur Grant Cardone in his 2011 book, is essentially a performance principle stating that success requires goals and actions 10 times larger than what most people consider realistic. It's not just about working harder, it's about fundamentally shifting how you think about what's possible.
Wait, 10 times larger? That sounds completely unrealistic. Like, if I want to save $1,000, I should aim for 10,000?
Exactly. And here's why that's not as crazy as it sounds. The page content shows that Cardone identifies 4 degrees of action people take: no action, retreat, normal action, and massive action. Most people operate in that normal action zone, doing what everyone else does.
Okay, but what does this look like in practice? Are there actual examples of this working?
Absolutely. The page content gives us some concrete examples. A startup sets a goal to gain 10,000 users instead of 1,000, driving greater innovation and marketing output. A sales team multiplies outreach efforts tenfold, resulting in record-breaking revenue. A personal brand adopts 10x discipline, posting 10 times more content to dominate visibility.
Those sound like success stories, but I'm curious about the real numbers. Do we have any actual data on businesses that implemented this?
We do. The testimonials from 10x Alliance partners show some pretty dramatic results. Justin Holloway's roofing company went from $9.9 million to $15.2 million after implementing Cardone's training. David Tye saw his average monthly revenue increase from $174,246 to $436,070. That's a 150.27% increase.
Wow, those are significant jumps. But I have to ask, is this sustainable? Or are people just burning themselves out?
That's actually one of the main criticisms. The page content notes that critics argue the 10x rule sets unrealistic expectations, lacks practicality, and can lead to burnout. Not many people can realistically follow this rule.
Right, and I noticed something interesting in the research. There's this tension between the 10x approach and other productivity methods. How does this compare to something like SMART goals?
Great observation. The page content actually has a comparison table. The 10x rule takes an exponential approach with massive ambition and extreme effort levels, while SMART goals are realistic with manageable targets and moderate effort. It's like the difference between aiming for $10 million instead of $1 million versus aiming for $1 million within a set timeline.
That's a fascinating contrast. But here's what I'm wondering. Is there any psychological science behind why the 10x approach might actually work?
Actually, yes. The page content mentions research from Edwin Locke and Gary Latham, who conducted over 400 studies spanning nearly 4 decades. Their research conclusively demonstrated that specific, challenging goals consistently lead to better performance than vague or easy goals.
Interesting. So there's actual research supporting the idea that harder goals work better?
Exactly. And here's something really fascinating. The page content explains that the 10x mindset creates psychological momentum by bypassing limiting beliefs. Your brain's reward system plays a central role in goal motivation, and psychological research supports writing down goals to increase achievement rates.
That makes sense. But I'm still stuck on this practical question. How do you actually implement this without completely overwhelming yourself?
Well, according to the page content, there are different types of 10x thinking. There's mindset-based 10x that focuses on personal growth and self-discipline, business 10x strategy for scaling operations dramatically, and sales 10x execution for multiplying leads and conversions.
So it's not just one size fits all. You can apply it to different areas of your life or business.
Right. And the process itself has specific steps. Set 10x goals by multiplying desired outcomes by 10, take 10x actions that execute far beyond normal effort, eliminate excuses by focusing solely on results, maintain persistence to sustain intensity over time, and track results continuously.
Okay, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. Some people are calling this whole 10x thing a marketing gimmick. What's that about?
That's a fair criticism that appears in the page content. Matthew Helms argues that 10x can be a sales tactic rather than a strategy, exploiting people's desires for rapid transformation. The promise of massive success plays on people's desires for rapid transformation, making it an easy sell.
And there are other criticisms too, right? I saw something about effort not always equaling success.
Exactly. One of the biggest flaws critics point out is the assumption that simply working harder will bring exponential results. Someone can work 100 hours a week on a failing business model and still get nowhere, while someone else who works 40 hours with the right approach can make millions.
That's the whole hustle culture trap, isn't it? More effort doesn't always equal more results.
Precisely. The page content notes that effort needs direction. And there's also the issue of diminishing returns and burnout. Not everything can scale at a 10x rate. Businesses have operational bottlenecks, industries have market limits, and human beings have physical and mental limits.
So it sounds like there's this tension between the motivational power of 10x thinking and the practical limitations of actually implementing it.
That's a really good way to put it. The page content shows that opinions are polarized. Readers either strongly endorse or reject Cardone's philosophy. Supporters praise its motivational message and find it inspiring and life-changing, while critics argue it's repetitive, overly simplistic, and promotes an unhealthy work-life balance.
But here's something interesting I noticed. There's actual academic research being done on this. Stanford has been studying 10x goal setting, right?
Yes. The page content mentions Stanford GSB's executive education course, where participants set concrete 10x objectives to change the trajectory of their careers. The success rate for participants completing their objectives is remarkably high, approaching 90%.
90%? That's actually pretty impressive. What makes it work in that context?
According to the page content, it's about several key mindset shifts: embracing a growth mindset where abilities can be developed through effort, adopting an abundance mentality that there are enough resources and opportunities for everyone, and thinking big to stretch your vision beyond current circumstances.
So it's not just about the goals themselves, but about fundamentally changing how you think about what's possible.
Exactly. And there's something else interesting. The page content mentions that setting 10x goals pushes you to think beyond your comfort zone and dream big. By aiming for objectives 10 times larger than what you'd typically set, you expand your vision, fuel motivation, enhance creativity, build resilience, and accelerate progress.
That makes me think about self-efficacy, your belief in your ability to succeed. Does that play a role here?
Absolutely. The page content explains that self-efficacy, developed by psychologist Albert Bandura, refers to your belief in your ability to succeed at specific tasks. Research shows this belief strongly predicts goal achievement, perhaps even more than actual ability in many cases.
So, if 10x thinking helps you believe bigger things are possible, that alone might make you more likely to achieve them.
Right. And the page content notes that the 10x mindset creates psychological momentum by bypassing limiting beliefs. It's not just about the effort, it's about rewiring how your brain processes what's possible.
But let's be real for a second. Who is this actually for? Because it seems like you need certain advantages to even attempt this level of intensity.
That's a crucial point that critics raise. The page content mentions that many critics claim it leads mostly to crash and burn, saying that only people of a certain means can realistically do something like this.
Right. Like, if you're already struggling to pay rent, telling someone to 10x their goals might not be helpful advice.
Exactly. And there's this interesting contrast in the page content between the 10x approach and something like the 1% rule, which states to accomplish a large goal 1% at a time. These are completely opposite philosophies. One says go massive, the other says go incremental.
That's fascinating. So, depending on your situation, your resources, your personality, you might need a completely different approach.
And that brings up something important about Grant Cardone himself. The page content shows he's a New York Times bestselling author, the #1 sales trainer in the world, with 5 privately held companies that have annual revenues exceeding $100 million. Forbes named him #1 of the 25 marketing influencers to watch in 2017.
So he's speaking from a position of already having achieved massive success. That context matters when evaluating his advice.
Absolutely. And the page content mentions that Cardone is known for his aggressive, high-energy approach to business and personal development. His controversial 10x rule philosophy advocates for setting extremely ambitious goals and taking massive action to achieve them.
So what's the takeaway here? Is the 10x rule something people should try, or is it just motivational hype?
I think the page content suggests it's somewhere in between. The benefits include driving high-performance culture, eliminating limiting beliefs, encouraging resilience and massive productivity, and helping identify opportunities beyond comfort zones. But the challenges include the potential for burnout without balance.
And there are those real success stories we talked about earlier, businesses that saw significant growth after implementing these principles.
Right. Brian McKee's plumbing business went from $1.2 million to $1.9 million, then to $3 million after implementing new systems. Stephen Oliveras in healthcare saw revenue increase from $229,630 to $397,796 in just 90 days. That's an increase of $168,000.
Those are real numbers from real businesses. But I keep coming back to this question of sustainability and balance.
And that's probably the key insight. The page content suggests that the 10x rule works best when it's about strategic thinking and goal setting, not just brute force effort. It's about understanding the true level of effort and thinking required to succeed.
So maybe the real value isn't in literally doing everything 10 times more, but in challenging yourself to think beyond what you normally consider possible.
Exactly. The page content mentions that Cardone argues most people underestimate both the effort required to achieve their goals and their own potential, leading to mediocre results. The 10x rule is about correcting for that underestimation.
And there's something to be said for the psychological impact. Even if you don't hit that 10x target, you might still achieve more than you would have with a smaller goal.
Right. The page content notes that this approach ensures that even if you fall short, you'll still accomplish far more than with conventional goal setting. It's about accounting for unforeseen obstacles, resistance, and challenges that inevitably arise.
But we should probably acknowledge that this isn't for everyone. Some people might find this approach overwhelming or counterproductive.
Absolutely. The page content shows that opinions are polarized for a reason. What works as motivation for one person might create anxiety or burnout for another. It's about knowing yourself and your situation.
So when you step back from all this, what's the real lesson here? Is it about the specific 10x framework or something bigger about how we approach goals?
I think it's bigger than just the 10x framework. The page content suggests that the real insight is about challenging our assumptions about what's possible. Whether you use 10x thinking or not, the research consistently shows that specific, challenging goals lead to better performance than vague or easy goals.
And maybe that's the key. It's not about the exact multiplier, but about pushing beyond your comfort zone and being willing to think differently about what you can achieve.
Exactly. The page content shows that goal-setting psychology demonstrates that your brain's reward system plays a central role in motivation, and that goals aligned with personal values create greater satisfaction and persistence. The 10x rule is just one way to tap into that psychology.
Well, here's what I find most interesting about all this. Whether you love it or hate it, the 10x rule forces you to confront your own assumptions about what's realistic. And maybe that's the real value.
That's a great way to put it. The page content mentions that James Clear noted the biggest mistake most people make is not setting goals high enough. The 10x rule, whatever its flaws, definitely forces you to reckon with that tendency.
So whether you multiply by 10 or just by 2, the real insight is about challenging yourself to think bigger than you normally would. Thanks for diving into this with me. It's been fascinating to explore both the promise and the pitfalls of extreme goal setting.